So anyway, you're having an event this week, a breakfast. Dan Keelan was telling me about it. So why don't you tell our audience about it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are doing a lunch, breakfast and learn this Thursday at the Dearborn Area Chamber. We're doing it both live and remote. So the opportunity for anybody still to sign up. And it is at the dearbornareachamber.org. And it is the breakfast and learn event with Checkpoint. And that's from 8:30 in the morning till 10 a.m. We're going to be discussing the Checkpoint firewall specifically, and also some of their bundled services and software that comes with that to help basically combat against cybersecurity, phishing, email spams, a whole myriad of different softwares that are available to help curb some of these things that are happening out there in the wild as we see it every single day.
Okay, and what's the cost of the event?
Actually, it's free.
Oh, okay.
And
great.
it is
Good
intended,
cause.
it's basically to attract our chamber members. There is a special discount if you're a chamber member for getting involved with the orders. If you do order a firewall from this event, we're giving a special discount there. Also, there's a raffle of a bourbon surprise package there that's being hosted or offered by Checkpoint folks over the webinar.
That
So,
sounds like a win all the way around. Okay.
And then you said it's virtual. So what's do you have the link on your website? How can people find that out?
well, what's going to happen is if they go to the dearbornareachamber.org and actually register, they will be sent information packet as to where location is if they wish to attend in person, or the link to the Zoom meeting or the virtual meeting that will be hosted at the time, so they can log in
Okay.
on the day of.
All right. So we have some questions here that we'd like to ask you, and some comments that we'd like to get from you. First of all, tell us a little bit about the importance of a good router in a network as it relates to cybersecurity and keeping the bad guys out.
Well, and I think that's one of the key things a lot of people miss out, even the home folks. You assume that basically, usually Comcast does a halfway decent job. They give you a router and a modem at the head end that basically connects. Spectrum does as well. And basically you get to set, 1, 2, or 3 level as to your security. A lot of people don't set anything to those. And even though managed, they assume that it's already set for them. But it's very, very kind of entry level as to what it prevents and what it doesn't. With the business end of it on the Comcast side and some of these others, they do have a higher end version, and they do have some subscription services that they offer. But again, if you're not in tune to that, then you're not going to get it. The other item is that companies like WOW or some of the fiber companies, what they do is they hand you a plug. They say, here you go, here's your internet. At that point, they assume you have a router, and they assume that you are connecting to it, because WOW, for example, doesn't usually put out the modem they give you is just a pass through. They expect that you as a company or you as a individual have some kind of equipment on the back end to do that. But that being said, a router typically is able to have software that can go out to check against whitelist, blacklist to see if your request is actually something that's valid, and it will try to prevent some of the incoming malware if it detects it, if it's a higher end level, and if you have some subscriptions to software that takes advantage of that, so that it tries to block some of these things. And it does. Most firewalls or most of the routers are firewalls that will attempt to block some of those items if they're calibrated properly. And usually I would recommend somebody that understands these things to make sure that they're tweaking correctly, so that you're not blocking items you do actually want, and you actually put those on a whitelist. And keep them coming in, so that you're not getting blocked. Because sometimes, especially us in the IT field, we use software and programs that are known to be malicious. So basically, some routers and some software won't let you use them unless you whitelist them and tell that software, hey, I do want to use these this software. I know what I'm doing, so please let me have it.
Yeah. So I hear an awful lot of advertising when I listen to podcasts and stuff about VPNs. Do you think it's worth it for privacy reasons to pay money to encrypt your stuff with a VPN?
It certainly has advantages. There are disadvantages as well, because with a VPN, you're spoofing your IP address. You're actually not telling it what your location is, especially if you're using a cell phone. The cell phones do have some VPNs. There's software, especially examples, banks and other entities look for a valid location, and if they're getting spoofed, then they won't let you in. So that's another thing that will happen. But VPN will help to protect you from inbound traffic or people finding out what your actual IP address is or your destination, so it can't come back to you. It goes to the VPN location. You're going somewhere and obviously coming out with their IP address. It also helps to protect your surfing, your history, and doesn't allow Google to collect all those fun things about where you've been and what you've been doing, and other software and other companies like that. But there's certainly value to it. You just have to weigh that against, you may have to shut it off if you're trying to get to your bank or you're trying to get a location to use a particular piece of app or software on your computer or tablet.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Let's talk about Checkpoint. Now, I'm familiar with them because they were created in Israel, and I was on a press tour to Israel about 5 years ago. I met the CEO of Checkpoint, but a lot of people might not know who Checkpoint is.
Yes, Checkpoint is one of the larger companies out there that is involved in cybersecurity. As you mentioned, they are originally based in Israel, or came from Israel. They protect items, as we just talked about VPNs. They actually, for instance, Marriott uses them as a when you log into their reservation software and their communication pieces. But they also have not only their routers, but they have software that's out there in the cloud that is able to do some advanced learning. They also have some SD-WAN, which basically gives you secondary link up and protects that information that's coming across that. So there's a myriad of items. And if you go to just checkpoint.com, you certainly can see all the features and functionalities, or if you wish, to reach out, we can certainly help with better understanding of better items. And there's also some training items on there. There is the Harmony piece, which helps with email. So you can actually use that on your mobile phone, as well as some endpoint detection. So that definitely protects you from getting phished or getting other emails and items you don't want. So it's a 6-point prod attack that they look at, or protection throughout the items. The router itself, for example, can also be virtual. So that, let's say you have a hosted, you're in a data center running a server someplace, you can actually get a virtual router that protects your AWS or your Azure or your data center with those items. So you don't actually have to have a physical unit to do that.
What do you like for good proactive intrusion protection software that's router based?
Well, again, the Checkpoint comes with the Quantum and the Cloud Guard, as well as Harmony for the local items. And then there's also the full security suite, depending on which router you're looking at. I mean, Meraki has that as well. Cisco's have some of those with their Firepower and some of the items, but those usually come as a subscription service to those specific routers and endpoints. Usually you don't put somebody else's software on there. Now, for your endpoint, for example, if you're on a PC, we've migrated from, and I think we talked about last time, we migrated from the antivirus portion of it to endpoint detection response, known as EDR. And the more advanced to that is called MDR, which is managed detection response. So if you have your EDR, you then basically, it alerts and says, hey, there's something suspicious coming in. The MDR portion of it then has somebody 24/7, 365 that basically looks at that and says, yes, that's a valid issue and we need to do something about that, or it's a false positive, and no, we can let that go. So I mean, it's much more advanced, and it's been adopted rather quickly over the past couple of years, where we're migrating from antivirus to endpoint detection and response. So you'll see that coming up more and more, especially enterprise wise.
So for the home user, what I mean, is any of the freeware, the anti-malware freeware out there any good? Is it worth its salt? Is it worth installing? The stuff that you can get for free.
I'll be honest with you. On some of mine, I have those. I mean, the biggest issue is, and I'll be honest with you, if you can make sure your Microsoft is patched, or you're running your updates as you need to, you have the antivirus actually running, and you're updating that, and you actually scan it, or you let it scan on a regular basis, if that's daily, and a deep scan on a weekly basis. Most people, what they do is they get that free antivirus, or they get that free software, they load it onto the computer, and then they leave it and forget it. All right. And that's not what it's intended for. The antivirus, you have to actually run. You actually have to schedule it and move it. Now, with the endpoint detection response program, that is a live program. So once you install that, it's going to operate. So that's going to do it for you. So that's the new advantages for the EDR versus the antivirus. But with antivirus, and also with things with the malware bites or anything like that, those need to be scanned. There are some, if you pay for it, obviously there are some active scanning and some ability to allow that software to catch those things as well. But again,
malware bites is what I have on my home machine. Yeah. So
and that is specific to the malware. That is not an antivirus. An antivirus is separate. But the malware bites, you just need to make sure you update the definition file, and then run the software itself, so that your computer's protected, obviously.
Yeah.
Couple minutes left. Why don't you plug your event? What's the date on that? It's like a day or two away, right?
It is. It's April 7th at 8:30 to 10. And that's opening day. So I certainly wasn't paying attention on that one. So hopefully some folks, but it is a morning event. So it's 8:30 to 10. And again, you can find it at dearbornareachamber.org. And there's a link there to register. It is done both virtually and in person. We are having a breakfast there. So there will be a breakfast from 8:30 to 9. And we'll kick things off at 9 a.m. Dearborn Area Chamber members will get a discount if they do decide to order it as a member-to-member benefit, and certainly look forward to having the folks there and doing this event. They're bringing in some folks from out of town, so Checkpoint will actually be running this, and they have the engineers online, so any deeper questions or deeper understanding for Checkpoint and firewalls and those items will be answered during this event.
Well, 8:30 to 10, that's just about perfect then, particularly if you attend in person, and then you can leave right at 10 o'clock and head downtown for
straight down Michigan Avenue. That's right.
Yeah.
Right there. Beautiful. Perfect.
You should raffle off some Tiger tickets, for some lucky person that participates or something,
Well, we're actually got a bourbon package, so somebody's getting a nice bottle of reserve there, so they may take that with them, I guess. If that's
that means Matt's probably going to sign up then, right?
Oh
Matt?
gosh, yes, yeah, that's my favorite hooch. All right, thanks very much, Philipp Emma, PSN Technology. What's the website of your company again?
Well, my website is psntechnology.com.
Okay.
And obviously dearbornareachamber.org is where the event is displayed.
Okay.